Good afternoon, everybody. Guru ko pranam. It's a pleasure and delight to be here. As you probably know already, I am an alumnus of this institution from the 2007 to 11 batch, mechanical engineering. So let me tell you, it's a really good feeling to be back here. So I'm enjoying it big time. So today I'll be speaking to you on Net Zero 2070. तो मैं पिछले 10-15 साल से इस टॉपिक पे काम करता हूँ, उस पर रिसर्च करता हूँ. तो I'll try and share some things with you which I think are exciting and everybody needs to know. So what is Net Zero 2070? So it is referring to a target that we have put on the amount of carbon dioxide that we emit into the atmosphere. So carbon dioxide, it is a normal gas in the atmosphere. It's a trace gas, in fact. The concentration is below 0.05%, okay? But it's an important gas. So on the slide, you see carbon dioxide cycle. So annually, we are emitting roughly 40 gigatons. That's quite a lot. Okay, so in India, for example, we burn roughly a billion ton of coal every year. That contributes to roughly 2 gigatons. So globally, it's 40 gigatons. And of course, not all of it is staying in the atmosphere. A good bit of it is actually being absorbed through various mechanisms coming out, but a good bit is staying in the atmosphere. It still continues to be a trace gas, but the concentrations are rising in the past 150 years or so. It's increased, say, from 220 parts per million to roughly 440 parts per million. And that is a bad thing. Why that is a bad thing? That's my slide number 2. So greenhouse effect, हम सब लोगों ने पढ़ा हुआ है पहले. तो infrared जो incident radiation होता है, what goes back gets trapped because of carbon dioxide. So this even minor increase in the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere is having a catastrophic implication. Okay, so we have understood that. Now we have, say, almost a few denials, of course, but nonetheless, the consensus is that it's happening, it's true. So, of course, it's something we need to do something about it, something we need to manage. So, I don't know if the slide is visible, but what it shows is that within India, अभी बोलते हैं extreme rainfall events काफी ज़्यादा हो रहे हैं, and we live in, say, Roorkee and Hamirpur. It's in the fragile, Himalayan young mountain ecosystem, which is particularly vulnerable. So extreme rain events, landslides, say number of days available to work, impact on GDP, agriculture, businesses and whatnot, that's becoming increasingly prominent. And we are having to spend a good bit of money on just mitigating that, with what we call mitigation. So that expenditure in the last 6-7 years has gone, say, from 1 to 2% of GDP to roughly 5-6%. It is expected to exacerbate as we go forward. Okay, but then we ask who is responsible for it. And that is also on the slide. So India is actually, the contribution is marginal. The contribution from other places is significant, but nonetheless, the impacts are, it's a global commons problem. So no matter who emits, but the implications for everybody, and we are facing it, right? So something needs to be done about it, whereas we have some clear-eyed view as to who is responsible. Now who's to respond to it? Who could respond? We as citizens, as businesses, as governments. Okay, so there are elaborate frameworks for all these categories. So for behavioral change, for businesses, we have science-based target initiatives. There are SEBI guidelines and whatnot. So it's a busy space. From the government angle, at least nationally, in India, we have a target for 2070, and that's the title of my talk, Net Zero 2070. So as a collective, as India, we decide that 2070, हमारे को carbon dioxide emit नहीं करना है, कर भी रहे हैं, तो कुछ को वापस absorb कर लेना है, चाहे वो plantation के माध्यम से हो, या direct air capture या carbon capture. These are some technical terms which I want to bring to your attention, and I will as I move forward. Okay, so that is the primary setting. Now, carbon dioxide ही तो निकालना है, ये आता कहाँ से है, अगर हटाना ही है, why it's so difficult? What's the big deal? Okay, technological solutions, we have moonshot, we have sent people to moon as well. So what's the big deal? So this is where the key problem is. So the problem of climate change, mitigating carbon dioxide, it's called a global commons problem. Okay, so it's not like a moonshot. ऐसा नहीं है कि बहुत bright लोगों को एक जगह इकट्ठा करके बहुत सारे पैसे देके सारे resources देके solve होने वाला है. It's called a wicked problem. Okay, so the solution is not residing with one technology, with one intervention, with one process. So technology people, engineers like to think that it's a technological solution. आसमान में sprinkle कर देंगे कोई material, sun का radiation ही कम पहुंचेगा, या direct air capture कर लेंगे CO2 का, but it's not that trivial. Economists, on the other hand, think that markets take care of everything. After all, it's an externality. Internalize कर लो, carbon tax लगा दो, carbon price कर दो, solve हो जाएगा. but it's much more than that. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's a challenge. Why it's a challenge? And that is what I want to speak a little bit more about. So in my earlier slide where I said 40 gigatons is the total emissions which goes out. So bulk of it is actually coming from energy. Now what is energy? Thermodynamics. I'm a mechanical guy. So ability to do work. It's a good thing, right? We know it's positively correlated to human development. It's a necessary input for economic activity. So it's a good thing. People like to consume more and अभी globally अभी हम 4 ट्रिलियन पे हैं. विकसित भारत 2047 कितने पे जाना है हमारे को? 30 trillion or maybe even more, right? And proportionate to that, that is going to be fueled by energy. So energy is going to provide all that support. It's a core driver of the economic activity of the Human Development Index. And energy is the primary reason contributing to the problem as well. So that's the catch, essentially. And what you see on this slide, it's a very colorful picture. So it's a representation of the complex interconnected energy supply chains. So we have fuels, we have liquid fuel, we have coal, we have natural gas, solar, wind, whatnot. Okay. So this is the picture. This is the flow for 1 year in India, say 2024. And this picture is changing very, very fast. तो पिछले 10 साल में जितनी हम एनर्जी कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं वो दुगना हो गया है. As we speak, it's growing at a rate of 6-7% every year, and we're supposed to sustain that growth rate till 2047 for Viksit Bharat. And throw into the picture, in addition to that, the net zero 2070 target. So how do you go about it? Energy, there is a question of say making payments. A lot of our oil is transport totally dependent on oil, comes from abroad. Coal, domestic resource, energy security, yes. But again, that's the main culprit, emitting lots of CO2. So how do you go about it? What do you do? So essentially, there's a lot of activity, lot of research and development, lot of investment. Think 20,000 crore carbon capture mission अभी के budget में. 2 साल के पहले में hydrogen mission 20,000 crore, hydrogen valley. So what are they? These are possible solutions. These are possible interventions which are expected to reconfigure this complex system. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी मोबिलिटी में भी जानी है. हमारे ई कार्ड्स यहाँ पर भी चल रहे हैं, वो स्केल पे करना है. उसके अलावा और क्या करना है? हाइड्रोजन को लेके आना है. स्टील सीमेंट बनाने में जो हमारे हार्ड टू गेट सेक्टर्स एज वी कॉल देम, वहां पे हाइड्रोजन यूज करना है. हाइड्रोजन बायोमास से लेके आना है, इलेक्ट्रोलिसिस से लेके आना है. इलेक्ट्रोलिसिस के लिए बिजली कहां से आनी है? तो फेयरली इंटरेस्टिंग कॉम्प्लेक्स सेट ऑफ क्वेश्चंस. एंड व्हाट फर्दर कॉम्प्लिकेट्स दिस थिंग इज बिकॉज एनर्जी इज बिग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. तो एक कोल पावर प्लांट अभी हमारे पास 440 गीगावाट की कैपेसिटी है. 1 मेगावाट इज गीगावाट डिवाइडेड बाय 10 to the power 3. इट कॉस्ट 5 or 7-8 crores 1 megawatt. और टिपिकल पावर प्लांट रफली होता है 500, 1000, 1500 मेगावाट का. तो इट्स अ several thousand crore rupee प्रोजेक्ट, अ सिंगल प्लांट. तो उतने पैसे हैं हमारे पास, कहां से आएंगे? कुछ गलती तो नहीं कर देंगे? गलत कर देंगे तो महंगा पड़ेगा. बना दिया, काम नहीं आया, गलत बना दिया, और एक बार ये एसेट बन जाता है, इट स्टेज विद अस फॉर 40-50 years. हमारे करियर तब तक खत्म भी हो गए होंगे जब तक वो इम्प्लीकेशंस जो है, जैसे वो बोलते हैं 2070 सीम्स डिस्टेंट. एंड दैट इज वन ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट आई विश टू बी द टेक अवे ऑफ दिस इंटरेक्शन. दैट इज एक्चुअली बीइंग it's building now. It's getting built now. Not just a question of building the technology, but it's to be plugged into this complex set of interconnected supply chains, which has fascinating set of, there are spot markets for electricity, long-term PPA contracts in coal, carbon capture, hydrogen, whatnot. Lots of interesting dynamics happening. So all that has to be navigated, which is part of the challenge, and which is sort of what I want to bring to your attention, that it's not 2070 is a year. Net zero is targeted. It's happening now. And we should probably, it's already being built. And I wanted to attract your attention to this problem. So it's not a challenge in the future. It's a challenge. It's a risk we have to deal with. We have to manage now. And it's a design problem. And each of us can contribute in various ways, because energy is a fertile ground as a sector. So there's a lot of association. There's say AI centers, for example, AI ML. Everybody talks about it. So it's one of the key. They are super scalers, right? They consume a lot of energy. So where will that energy come from? From clean sources? Maybe, maybe not. Can AI help us manage, organize, order our energy better? For example, right? Automation, IoT, distributed generation, behind the meter installations. So there's a huge menu of options. And I personally have been at it for the last 15 years or so. I find it very exciting, and I'm happy to be here, to be able to have this opportunity to share some of that excitement with you, in the anticipation that some of you might take this as a direction for what you might choose to do in future. And of course, even if you're not pursuing this as a career, there's something to be said. So Life Mission, for example, is a behavioral change intervention where each one of us, through simple actions, be they related to energy consumption, water consumption, can contribute to alleviating our impact on the planet or our society, and maybe be a little more conscious citizens of planet Earth. So with that, I complete my talk. Thank you.